Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. I have a very, very interesting show for you folks today. I want you to imagine a scenario. I want you to imagine a horrific scenario in which you're with your loved one and you're having a great night. You're celebrating an achievement, a work achievement. And in that, you decide to retire for the evening. You find your loved one dead, murdered, laying in an extreme pool of blood, and you didn't do it, but you've been accused of doing it. You have no idea how this happened. You're distraught. You're cradling your loved one in your arms. You can't believe this has happened. It's come out of nowhere. You don't know what to do. And police are on the scene, and they're eyeing you up. You're the one they're blaming. You're the one that's responsible. Would you believe that this act of murder wasn't done by something human? It wasn't done by something supernatural. But this act of murder, this cold, calculated murder, was done by a woodland creature? It's true. Our guest today is author Tiddy Smith. The book is Death by Talons. We're going to talk today about how this happens and why it's not such a far-fetched idea. In fact, it's very real, and it happens quite often, and it's quite chilling. Tiddy Smith is a philosopher of religion who's gained his PhD from the University of Otago in 2017. He has taught at various universities in New Zealand and Indonesia. He is the author of The Methods of Science and Religion and editor of Animism and Philosophy of Religion. Let's bring him in now to True Crime Tuesday. Tiddy Smith, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
First of all, when I say woodland creature, people go, what? But it's true. You could very much so be attacked by, and we'll tell them here in a minute what kind of woodland creature, because I think it's quite stunning. You could be, and we've reported it before here on the show, both here on True Crime Tuesday and on Darkness Radio. People think that they can just stumble into the wild and animals are our friends, Tiddy. They're just so cuddly and cute and we could just go up and pet them and they're our friends. It's not that case, is it?
I think the trouble is that we are the apex predator on the globe. And we sometimes think, because of that we're the only apex predator on the globe. We forget that, if we wander into a territory that's unfamiliar to us, we go into the jungle or the Australian outback, there are all sorts of creatures who are also apex predators in their own domain. And we get very comfortable living in our cities and living in our towns, having our roads and our cars and our railways. And, if we go in unprepared to these areas where we're not the big boy on the block, we can get into a lot of trouble.
I know there have been many times where I've had a very healthy fear, and I learned a very healthy fear at a very young age. And, a lot of people may shun it or they may poo-poo it or shake their finger at it. But at a young age, I was taken out by, I think it's a rite of passage for a lot of young men that they're taken out hunting by their grandfather's fathers. And it's kind of a rite of passage here in Minnesota. I don't hunt anymore, but it's taken out in the woods. You're shown gun safety and you're shown other things and you're taught a healthy respect of animals. And the fact that animals are not your cute, cuddly friends. They very much have their own instinct, their own survival techniques, and it really is survival of the fittest. And you learn that from even the cutest, cuddliest little squirrels to the biggest, most ferocious beasts, it's you or them.
And I think sometimes we forget that, we think that when we go into the forest or when we go into the woods, we are the ones looking at everything else and that nothing is ever looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
But we're being watched. When we walk into a forest, there are birds watching us. There are lizards watching us, squirrels, mammals. They're all keeping an eye on what the strange creature is who's wandering around their home. And just as, if a strange creature came wandering around your house, you'd come to the windows and start pointing and shouting. Well, the exact same thing happens in these animal communities when we enter into their territory.
Now, people may say, well, Tim, that's a little overboard. But keep in mind here, Tiddy, that you can form bonds with animals. We form bonds with cats and dogs, but they're domesticated. And you can put a bird feeder out in your yard, and you can form relationships with birds, or some birds, I'll put it that way. You can form relationships with different animals, but it's always a tedious one. It depends on whether you continue to keep feeding it. I have an interesting story for you, Tiddy, before we keep into the subject here. And that's this. My girlfriend at the time, we were living in a house, and we were having kind of let's just say the relationship was deteriorating with the landlord at the time. And so she decided, as we were moving out, she was going to feed the squirrels leftovers. Okay. There were a lot of squirrels in this backyard. And the squirrels were getting more and more used to the really good leftovers that we were feeding them, to the point where they were getting belligerent about the fact that they wanted their leftovers. And it got to the point where one of the squirrels started to bang on the back door when it wanted to be fed. Bang on the back door, Tiddy. In other words, they were demanding their food. Well, these squirrels got to be like 3 times the size of what they were. So when we moved out, the landlord's wife went, boy, the squirrels here sure are huge. So essentially,
well, it's just like that, though, isn't it? I mean, we have relationships with animals in the wild, and sometimes these are lovely relationships that we cherish, they're friendships or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Other times we wander into an area where, I don't know, there's a coyote, maybe. I've never met a coyote. I'm from New Zealand. I wouldn't even know what one looked like. But I assume that if you meet a coyote in the wild, you shout and you kick at it and you say, fuck off. You don't want it anywhere near you, right?
Right.
So I suppose few people ever make friends with coyote. We have all sorts of relationships that we can forge with animals. And sometimes we forget that, animals might not view us in quite the way that we view them. It's just something that we can either use or make fun of or make our pets. Right. Sometimes they want to do things with us that we might not be so keen on.
Exactly. Different mindsets completely. Let's talk a little bit about this case. I got to ask you, first of all, what made you tackle this case, and what was it about this case that intrigued you so much?
Well, this was all because of COVID.
Okay.
It was a few years ago when there was a lockdown process. I was living in Jakarta in Indonesia. I couldn't leave the house for a few months. Can you bloody believe it?
No.
So I needed something to do. And I thought, I know, I'll rewatch that documentary I watched however many years ago, maybe over a decade ago, that one called The Staircase. I rewatched this docuseries and I began to think again about how the evidence in that case all fitted together. And the more I struggled with the question of how the forensic evidence in that crime fit together, the more puzzled I became. That, led to a sort of rabbit hole that got deeper and deeper. And once I arrived at what I guess was its terminating point, that's when I was really quite frightened about what I found I'd discovered.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess that's the only explanation, really, is there was a lockdown and a rabbit hole.
I'll tell you, going through the book and reading the book, you really went down the rabbit hole, and to your credit, you went down the rabbit hole because it gets quite thorough. And I think to your credit, and our audience is going to love this. You get very thorough with it. I know I'm one who, when I sit down to watch a program, when I sit down to read a book, the one thing that I sometimes kind of wince at is when an author doesn't get thorough enough, when they don't want to examine the details, or I do have questions when I sit down and read a book. Why did this happen? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they retrace their steps? Why weren't they thorough enough? Why did they ignore certain aspects of a case? And you do go over it with a fine-tooth comb. And with that, I do tip my hat to you.
Well, I think the reason is that the thing that has always annoyed me about this case, a lot, really irritated me, is that people seem to think that the best way to judge what happened here is by sort of deciding things about sort of, say, motives or weird behavior or who made a funny look at someone else at some point. You know, there's never really much attention paid to the actual evidence in the case. And instead, people say things like, well, you know, this person was doing something behind this other person's back. Or this person lied about something completely unrelated to the murder. Or this person was seeking money for something. It's just incredible that so much of the argument in this case seems to rest on motive. And when people argue about this case, they talk about motive, they talk about strange behavior, and they never actually talk about the evidence that was found at the scene. And that's what this book tries to do. It's a discussion of the evidence that was found at the scene of the crime. And that's what I think makes this book quite different to the others that have already been written on this case over the last 20 years.
We're going to get into it in a minute and describe exactly what happened that night and why it was so hard for police at the scene to figure out what exactly happened. Because even for the most experienced or experienced police on the scene, it was extremely hard for them to go. In fact, one blood spatter expert who showed up on the scene went, nope, and walked away. But let's get into it and let's tell people exactly what happened with this case. It involved the Petersons, and I'll let you take over from here, Tiddy. What happened on December 9th, 2001?
Okay, well, to sum it up quickly, December 9th, 2001, a woman was found dead at the bottom of the stairs. Her body was drenched in blood, and the walls of the stairwell in which she was lying were also drenched with blood. Her husband, his shirt, his shorts, these were drenched in blood as well. He rang 911 at about 2:40 a.m. and he told the operator, quickly come, my wife had an accident, she fell down the stairs. Now, when the police arrived, they were very skeptical of this story. One of the major reasons they were skeptical was because, well, blood seemed to be everywhere. Blood was all over her body. Blood was all over the walls of the stairwell. Blood was all over Michael, her husband. And strangely, blood was all over the front door of the house, which was far away from Kathleen's body. It was in a different room. So the police kind of came to a pretty sensible conclusion, which is that, well, this couldn't have been a fall, because if you fall down the stairs and die from hitting your head on the steps, you can't smear blood all over a door in a separate room. So that's where this ball started rolling. Michael was eventually put to trial 2 years after Kathleen's death, and he served 8 years in prison. A retrial was called, and he was eventually set free when it was found that some of the blood spatter evidence presented by one of the technicians was probably fraudulent. So he was set free. Those were the two main theories that persisted in this trial up until relatively recently. Either Kathleen fell or she was murdered. But then, and I'm sure we can get to this in a moment, another theory came about shortly after her death and just about around the same time as the trial began.
And it's an interesting theory. We will get to that here in just a moment. Now, on that night, and there's some interesting theories that pop up from what exactly happened that night. It's Kathleen Peterson who has murdered her husband Michael, are poolside, and it's quite late in the year. But they're celebrating. They're celebrating, I believe, something that had happened at work with Kathleen, correct?
Well, it was actually something that had happened in Michael's.
I'm sorry, Michael. Yeah, I got the two mixed up there.
So Michael hadn't, in fact, had any taxable income come into the household for 3 years. Now, Michael was a novelist. He was actually a very successful novelist, a New York Times bestseller. One of his first books was acquired by Simon & Schuster, for example, for about $600,000. So he was one of these men who managed to bring in quite hefty sums, but sporadically. Now, it was 3 years, though, and he hadn't brought in any taxable income. He had received word from Hollywood that a recently published book about a Chinese political dissident was going to possibly be made into a movie. So his hopes were very high. Stratton Leopold was the name of the producer who had called him up and said, look, I want an option on this book. It's bloody great. You know, we can do something wonderful with it. So the idea goes that Michael got a bottle of bubbly, opened it up, poured a couple of glasses for him and his wife, and they were celebrating the news. At least that's the story that the defense wanted to present in this case.
And so they have a quick drink out by the pool. They're celebrating. Everybody's happy. She takes it's getting close to bedtime. She takes a Valium, and she says, well, darling, I'm going to retire. I'm going to head up to bed.
That's exactly right. She was also wearing flip-flops that night, and the idea goes that the combination of alcohol with Valium and flip-flops turned deadly. She tried to climb the stairs, tripped, and knocked her head. That's the story that the defense argued. Mm-hmm. This was a fall, and it was just a very unfortunate accident. The cuts that she sustained on her head were very deep, but then there was no damage to her brain or skull. So it seemed as though this explanation could work, because if she'd been beaten over the head with something, you'd expect her skull to be broken or her brain to be bruised, and neither of those things happened.
Now, the prosecution claims that that's not quite the case, that Michael had gone after her and had used a fireplace poker. Is that correct, to beat her?
That's right. The story goes, for the prosecution, that Kathleen had discovered Michael was having homosexual affairs behind her back. So she ran to Michael, shouting, yelling. She was absolutely upset. Michael argued with Kathleen. The pair fought, and eventually rage took over. Michael grabs this brass, hollow blowpoke from the fireplace, and he corners Kathleen in the stairwell, beating her to death. That's the prosecution's story. There's more to the prosecution story than that, though. It actually ends up being quite elaborate. For example, Michael also is seen to be cleaning up the scene after he kills Michael by doing a series of quite strange things, like emptying bottles of wine down the sink and bringing out glasses, champagne flutes, and putting them on the kitchen bench so that the police officers would assume that Kathleen had been drinking, which is a very strange thing to do, given that Kathleen had been drinking.
Yeah.
But there we are.
Right. So we've got two possible scenarios here. I think at this point, Tiddy, we're going to take a break because there's a third scenario. And we're going to bring in another player here when we come back from the break. And we'll explain how this player comes in and brings in this third scenario. And this third scenario is going to make you scratch your head a little bit and go, well, how would this ever possibly happen? We'll do that when we come back. The book is Death by Talons. Our guest is Tiddy Smith, who's the author of this book. And we're going to get to that scenario when we come back here on The Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to The Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Our guest is author Tiddy Smith. The book is Death by Talons. It's out by Wild Blue Press. We've got a link to it in the description of this program. We encourage you to go and order that book right now. Tiddy, when we left everybody, we said there's a third scenario here. There's the scenario that Kathleen Peterson had slipped on the stairs as she was coming back from the pool after having celebrated Michael's success, having sold his book to a filmmaker. There's also the second scenario that that Michael had actually murdered his wife after finding out that he had had an affair on her. There's a third scenario. How does this third scenario come up, and what player comes into our scenario here that discovers, you know what, after having looked at everything, after having looked at the evidence in the case, I don't think Michael is guilty here. Who comes into our picture here?
So, a neighbor, well, he was the next door neighbor of the Petersons, was a man called Larry Pollard. Now, he wasn't just a nosy neighbor. He wasn't someone sort of poking his head over the fence going, oh, what's happening in that Peterson house? No, he was an attorney, a very high-level attorney. He'd worked as legal counsel in some of the most prestigious positions in North Carolina, in the Special Prosecutor's Office, for example. So he, hearing about the case, he was very suspicious about what was going on. He didn't really think that from what he had heard at least, that the prosecution had much of a case for murder. And he certainly didn't think that Kathleen's death could be explained by a fall. He was also really surprised that this case was going to be tried in Durham, because it was 2 years after Kathleen's murder and the media attention had been frantic. So Larry was very, very doubtful you could get a fair trial in Durham. Now, Larry would often chat with with Michael's attorneys over the back fence of the house. And one day he heard that the wounds on the back of Kathleen's head were just very unusual. They were very large, they had strange shapes, the dimensions were a bit odd, and they were strangely symmetrical. Now, Larry, perhaps this is when he became a nosy neighbor, said, oh, do you think I could have a look at the autopsy photos? And one of Michael's lawyers brought a colour photograph of the back of Kathleen's head taken during the autopsy and showed it to Larry. Larry took the photo and he held it up close to his eyes and he shouted out to himself, oh, these look just like turkey tracks. Now, the reason that Larry identified these turkey tracks was that he was a hunter. He was an outdoorsman. He had a trophy room in his house that was full of his prized hunts. He had things like bears and alligators, and he had a stuffed marlin on the wall, and, obviously turkeys and ducks, and deer, many, many deer. So he saw this photograph, and the first thing that jumped out at him was, well, these look exactly like turkey tracks, all of the turkey tracks that he'd ever stalked in his life. But of course, he knew that it couldn't have been a turkey. Stupid idea. A turkey didn't kill this woman. So about a week or so went by. Larry was thinking about the photo and considering what it really meant. And then he remembered that Kathleen had been found at about 2:30, 2:40 a.m. And he thought, well, that would fit with an owl attack. Now, Larry had lived next door to the Petersons, or rather, he'd lived at 1910 Cedar Street. For 50 years, he'd lived there his whole life. And he knew that owls always nested along the property line. So between the two houses, between Michael Peterson's house and Larry's house, and that they'd done that for 50 years. There was an old barn on the property line where these owls would nest. And these were the big ones. These were the barred owls and the barn owls and the great horned owls. And it began to sort of come to Larry in increments that, perhaps it had been an owl. Now, it wasn't just the discovery of the shape of the wounds on the back of Kathleen's head. It was also the fact that when Kathleen was discovered, she was found with her hands clasping over 60 of her own head hairs that had been wrenched out from the roots.
Ooh.
Now, that sounds very unlike something that should happen during a fall down the stairs, but it also sounds a little bit unusual to have been sustained during a violent attack. Larry's hypothesis was that, in fact, Kathleen had been trying to wrench something from her head before running inside and fainting in the stairwell, bleeding to death. So that was Larry's theory. An owl attacked Kathleen outside. she ran inside her house, fainted in the stairs, and bled to death.
Larry secures some help as well during his investigation from an interesting friend who has some famous ties. And that's in the book as well. I won't go into who exactly that person is, but it's a mutual friend of Michael's. And they go about trying to prove this owl theory, but they run into some problems, not only from the police, but they also run into ridicule, which is, I gotta say, is alarming. That's a good way of putting it, isn't it, Tiddy?
Well, it's natural, right? If somebody came to you and said, I don't think Kathleen was killed by a person. I don't think she just fell. I think she was killed by an owl. Well, if you don't understand how that theory came about, you're just going to think this person is completely mad. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe for good reason, right? The trouble is that nobody ever took any time or effort to look into why Larry developed the theory that he did. Now, you said as well, just before you asked that question, that Larry had some help and that, they also found some obstacles when they were trying to prove this theory. One of the more interesting obstacles is the fact that Larry wrote to the district attorney because he believed that an owl was a live possibility. And the only question he asked the district attorney was, were any feathers discovered at the crime scene? And he received a letter in response that said, "Hi, Larry, we thank you for your concern about blah, blah, blah. No feathers were found at the blah, 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 blah. Yours, blah, blah, thank you, blah, blah, blah." Mm-hmm. And Larry thought, well, I'm not sure I believe that, so I'm going to check it out. Now, Larry had all sorts of contacts at the Special Prosecutors Division of the Durham Judiciary. So he could actually just waltz in the door and ask for the trace evidence report, which was what he did. And he got the trace evidence report, he took it home, he went through it line by line, and he found that, in fact, a feather had been recovered, plastered in blood in one of the hairs that Kathleen had pulled out by the root. So not only had a feather been found, it had been found in blood. Larry arranged for a microscope and the assistance of an expert to analyze the slide. And when he did so, he found that, in fact, the trace evidence report was wrong. It was not just one feather, there were two. And that's when Larry realized, okay, firstly, I've been lied to. Secondly, I've been ridiculed for years. And thirdly, I'm right. It was a shocking discovery and something that Larry liked to call smoking feather.
I think I had one of those in college, actually. Smoking feather.
Very good.
And there it is. And that's the beginning of the chase. But, without blowing a lot of the book, and we'll go into a little bit more of some of the evidence here. There's more than just that, but that's the beginning of the feather chase, so to speak. But it's there. It's been there all along, Tiddy. But they
were lying.
Yes,
they were lying.
They're withholding evidence, and
they were withholding a lot of evidence, and they still are, which is what my book tries to outline. Because a lot of the evidence that was presented was either misdescribed, hidden, or you have these incredible situations where, for example, one of the key pieces of evidence that was found during the investigation vanished mid-trial. Incredible things happened during this investigation that very few people are aware about.
Now, I want to go back to the night in question, because there's some interesting things that happen on the night in question here, Tiddy, that are very, very odd. I know when you're dealing with an investigation, you want to try to keep the evidence as pristine as possible, but that didn't happen in this case. People were all over the place. Yet the people on scene, the minute that this thing is unfolding, are treated very criminally, very quickly. We should explain that it wasn't just Michael on scene, the husband of Kathleen. Explain to us who arrives on the scene initially after Michael finds Kathleen.
Right. Well, allegedly, it's very difficult to tell exactly, what was going on. But according to most of the testimony, Todd Peterson, who was Michael's son, arrived on the scene at exactly the same time as the paramedics. So this was just a couple of minutes after his second 911 call to police, about 2:46 a.m. After Todd arrives, he's very worried about his father, who is shaking, not answering questions, doesn't seem to be able to process information, doesn't seem to be able to communicate. So Todd calls Todd, it should be noted, also arrived with his date for that night, who was a married woman by the name of Christina Tomasetti. So we've got at the scene now arriving Christina Tomasetti, Todd eventually phones up his doctor friend, a woman by the name of Heather Whitson, who presumably had been at the same party as Todd earlier that night.
Okay.
So Heather arrives to assess Michael for shock. And she brings with her her fiance, who is, as far as everyone can tell, really drunk. And he's wandering around the scene, sort of slurring his words, going, what's going on here? Who's fallen in the staircase? And wiping his hands about and scuffing his feet. And apart from that, okay, these are just a few of the people who arrived at the scene outside of the police. But as far as the police force goes as well, 39 officers came to the house that morning and were moving around the house until it was finally vacated at about 11 p.m. on the same day. So a huge amount of activity went on in that house in the first 20 hours of the body's discovery. So it's very clear that when you're looking at the evidence in this case, the possibility of contamination, crime scene contamination, is extremely high. Now, I'll just very, very quickly talk about two things.
Sure.
In the crime scene contamination that deserve noting, because these were decisions made by the police that don't make any sense. For some reason, before the crime scene video was even taken, the police decided to take a large concrete planter, about 2 or 3 feet high, from the side of the front door and move it to the middle of the front path, sort of right in front of the front door. Now, we're told that they moved it there because they wanted to secure a blood spot. It's very unclear that this was why it was done. The blood spot was never tested, never given a forensic test, never lifted, and the only video and photos that remain are very, very poor quality. Mm-hmm. It also doesn't really explain why the planter was moved. I mean, you could put a road cone there, you could put a piece of paper over it.
Sure.
So apparently, so we're told, the police moved a piece of outdoor furniture, very, very heavy piece of outdoor furniture, from one place to another before the crime scene video was taken. Now, another strange thing, when police arrived at the scene, in the stairwell with Kathleen were all sorts of objects, but one of the objects right next to her head was a telephone, a cordless telephone. Now, you'd think that would be a very important piece of evidence, right? Because it might have fingerprints on it. It might have, maybe Kathleen tried to use it because Michael was attacking her, right? She tried to call 911. Who knows?
Yep.
Now, that phone, for some reason, was taken out of the stairwell and it was used by the first officer on the scene, Juanetta McDowell, to call Criminal Investigations Division. Now, why she decided that she had to use the landline rather than her official channels is absolutely bewildering and something that we really need to think about in this case. And unfortunately, I don't stress it enough in the book. But after having published it, I now realize that's a really crucial point of evidence.
When I read that, I think I screamed, "What the?" out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no reason whatsoever for the landline to be used. Right. Unless you don't want unless you don't want a chain of evidence being recorded.
Right.
It's absolutely bizarre.
Yeah.
Absolutely bizarre.
Yeah. Especially since if you want to maintain that Michael bludgeoned Kathleen to death, wouldn't you think, okay, if they're focused on the fireplace poker, but if there's a cordless phone laying nearby and there's blood everywhere, you would think maybe the cordless phone might be part of the deal too, even though it doesn't look like it on her skull.
Well, that's not the only piece. They said that Michael cleaned up the scene.
Yeah.
And yet right beside her head were 2 paper towels that were drenched in blood. Mm-hmm. And the police never took these into evidence.
Right.
Now you have to ask, why on earth did they not take them into evidence?
Right.
If they thought Michael cleaned up the scene, wouldn't he have used something like paper towels?
Sure.
So, and it's not only the paper towels or the telephone. In fact, every single item in the stairwell and surrounding Kathleen's body was not taken into evidence. Every single item. Well, apart from the 2 items of clothing that she was wearing. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy.
And it's not shoddy police work because they collected so many other items that they regarded as, they were absolutely inscrutable when it came to any other item of interest around the house. But when it came to every item around Kathleen's body, oh, no. They couldn't be collected.
There's a couple things that stood out to me that I wanted to bring up with you that blew my mind. They absolutely blew my mind. One I mentioned previously, and that was the first blood spatter evidence expert that showed up on the scene threw her hands up and said, no, thank you. Because it would take, I'm trying to remember how you stated it in the book. It would take years to go through all the evidence and try to piece that crime together.
Well, it did take years. It took 2 years until the trial came forward, and this was because the forensic analysis was so detailed.
But to put it together accurately.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, to put it together accurately might have been beyond anybody's capacity. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, that's only what we've been told. And in this case, we're very often not told the truth. So it's very difficult to know whether the first blood spatter technician or expert who was brought on the scene, in fact, did say, I don't want to take this on, it's beyond my expertise. Or whether she was in fact told, you need to step to the side, the FBI wants this one, or rather the State Bureau of Investigation wants this one. Because it's very interesting to notice that the blood spatter analyst, Dwayne Deaver, who was eventually brought in, he was with the Environmental Crimes Division. Very strange that you'd bring in somebody from environmental crimes on a case like this.
Yeah.
So either it was the case that I think her name was Rebecca Reed. Mm-hmm. Either Rebecca Reed genuinely said, oh, look, I this blood is so extensive on these walls, I wouldn't have a chance. Or she was told, Rebecca, step aside, Deaver has this.
And Deaver didn't have the most, we'll just say, upstanding reputation, did he?
Deaver lied on the stand about the number of cases he'd actually worked on. I think he said he'd worked on something like 60 criminal cases. This was nowhere near the truth. And he'd been found in previous cases to kind of shoehorn evidence to fit the prosecution's whim. So when Michael was finally released, the judge sort of declared that there was no question that given how reliant the prosecution was on Deaver's testimony, Michael had to be released because this was a major pillar of the testimony against Michael and it was found to be corrupt.
Mm. The other thing that stood out to me, and it was just, you have to shake your head at, there's just this piece in the book where it talks about what is mixed in with the blood and whether it's luminol or actual, for lack of a better term, owl scat or owl feces.
Yeah, this is what I, if I can put humility to the side for a second,
sure.
This is what I think to be my major contribution to this case. The fact is that the stairwell, the bottom steps of the stairwell, seem to have splats of something white that I've interviewed ornithologists about this. They agree it looks exactly like what are called mutes or bird feces. owl feces in the stairwell. And these are not old remnants or the important thing to note about them is that they're deposited directly over the bloodstains. So they had to be left there during her death or just ever so slightly after. Now, it's really difficult to talk about this evidence, on a radio show like this, on a podcast, because people really need to see it. It's very difficult to say, oh, I'm telling you, it looks just like bird droppings. So, I do encourage you to get the book where we have these photographs of the evidence that I'm talking about. And it's quite clear when you look at them that these resemble exactly bird feces. And it's not only that there's splatter stains over the blood, it's as though there's been some tussle and the smears of white bird droppings have become mingled in with the blood, and the blood suddenly turns pink at the borders. So this is some sort of frenzy at the bottom of the stairs in which something resembling bird droppings is emitted and smeared in with blood. I'm really rather stunned that Larry in particular never picked up on it himself. He's been looking at this case for a long time, and
Sometimes though, when you're that close to a case and you've gone over details over and over and over again, there are some things that just go right over your head, and I have a feeling that's one of those things that probably went over his head. And the way you put it in the book, you put it eloquently. How much luminol would you have to put on that section of blood in order to gain that shade of white? I mean, you'd have to dump buckets of luminol on blood to get that.
Absolutely. It's just completely inconsistent with luminol. And it doesn't really, the luminol explanation that was given at trial doesn't comport with the way that luminol is applied on a crime scene. It's usually put in one of those little spray buckets, or spray cans with with a trigger and, the sort of thing that you might use to, spray nutrients over crops or something like that.
Right.
And you spray, it's a very fine spray. That's the whole point. You spray it evenly and finely over an area so that you can wait to see how the glow comes out, which should, again, be an even, you don't go onto it with a sort of, with a bucket full of luminol and a cup and sort of tip splats of it over the, I mean, it's just so obviously not luminol. It's really, really, it's such the explanation just doesn't work. That's not how you apply luminol in the crime scene. And even if luminol was spilt, it wouldn't resemble, I think, that kind of white bird dropping like quality that we see. It would have more of a yellowish tinge to it that this simply doesn't have.
Yeah, it's not a wet t-shirt contest with luminol. It's just a fine spray that's done with it. Yeah. So in case people are wondering, there's also another. There's facts within the book that you point out. If people ever doubt that you could be killed by an owl, if people are still sitting there and going, "Oh, come on, killed by an owl," I mean, let's get real here. You point out some very interesting facts here, Tiddy, that are amazing when it comes to the strength of an owl's talons. There's a picture in the book of Kathleen's head that I believe it was the coroner took, where they shaved her head and then they show the actual talon marks in her skull, which are the turkey tracks, as you put it early in the program, which are disturbing. I mean, they're just plain disturbing. But you put in there the pounds per square inch that talons make when applied to the grip of a talon, and you compared it to the pounds per square inch of a pit bull's bite. And I forget exactly what it was. It was so many times more than a pit bull's bite when a talon of a owl locks in.
Yeah, look, I don't have the book in front of me, nor
I
my
haven't.
researchers, but
Yep.
I can tell you that a barred owl's grip is around about equally as strong as a pit bull's bite in terms of pounds per square inch. When you have a larger bird, like perhaps a snowy owl or a great horned owl, you're looking at about 2.5 to 3 times as strong as a pit bull's bite. But that's not actually what's so terrifying about the grip. What's terrifying about the grip is that once those claws are shut, they're ratcheted shut. And another way of putting this is by saying the closed grip of an owl is its natural resting position. So let's say an owl came and hit you on the head right now, closed its grip, and then we shot it. Those talons are going to stay just like that. Oh. It's not as though the bird dies and its whole body goes limp and it opens the talons. It dies with the talons clamped shut and it never opens them. So that's the bird's natural resting position. Actually forcing those talons open is near to impossible.
And you also have examples in the book of that exact same thing happening, which is chilling. And a lot of examples of owl scenarios where people have been killed by owls and just the strangest circumstances.
Yeah, well, I've got one. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other examples. I only managed to find one prior example of a fatal owl attack on a human being. But there are other examples that are very nearly fatal, and I think that's also good enough evidence. I think in the book I present sort of 3 cases, one of which is a death, 2 of which are very, very life-threatening. But even apart from these, I mean, there's severe injuries that are inflicted even in the most sort of mundane owl attacks, if you can talk about mundane owl attacks, in which people lose eyes or they, are disfigured for life. Some owls, hit the important veins, jugular veins, and people almost bleed to death. These animals are very, very capable of inflicting severe damage. And in the book as well, I present a few examples of the numerous dogs and cats that have been killed by owls over the last 100 years or so. And some of these dogs are, about the size of a 10-year-old child.
So why would this owl go after Kathleen? Why do we suppose this owl decided Kathleen was a target?
Well, Larry was the first. So Larry Pollard, the neighbor, was the first to come up with a good theory about this. I actually think it is quite a good theory. Larry noticed that on the morning of Kathleen's death, there was a white balsa wood reindeer at the front of the house, and he knew it hadn't been there the previous day. So his theory went that Kathleen went to the end of the front path carrying this white, almost glowing balsa wood reindeer and putting it down at the end of the path. The idea is that the owl, owls only see in black and white. Mm-hmm. So if you have a strong contrast in something like, say, a bright white reindeer that's only about 2 foot tall and yada yada, an owl might see that as a potential bit of prey. So the owl, Larry reasoned, swoops down, going for this reindeer and becomes entangled with Kathleen on its way. But just apart from that, we should note that December is the month in which owls, or barred owls at least, start to nest. And it's when they're at their most territorial and become very aggressive, especially towards humans. When you actually look at the distribution of owl attacks in the United States over the last 100 years, most of the attacks happen across late autumn and early spring.
If I can, I found one of the passages where you quote someone who talked to the Skagit Valley Herald in South Carolina. His name's Greg Cooper. He was attacked by a barred owl.
Mm.
And he says, it felt like someone hit me with 2 fists. When they hit you, it's like a rocket. It's a classic attack. They come at you from behind. It locked its talons in the back of my skull Then the front talons came over and latched onto the top of my skull. He was quoted as saying that on September 29th, 2020. Greg Cooper from South Carolina.
And that's a very standard description of what it's like to be struck by an owl. In fact, it's really, I think I have about 4 or 5 quotes from different owl attack victims in that section of the book. And what is really striking is how similar their descriptions are. They talk about getting struck by a bolt of lightning.
Yep.
They talk about being hit from behind by a 2x4 or by a baseball bat. The shock of the strike from the owl's talons is just incredible, and many people are knocked over by it. Almost all of them, because they never hear the flapping wings of the bird as it approaches, they believe they've been struck by an assailant. They think that they're going to turn around and find that they're being mugged. But they turn around, there's no one there. So they have no idea what's going on until they're struck again.
This poor 12-year-old in 2018 lost his eye. It's just...
Well, is that Tyler Tharp? Is that right?
I think that... I'm looking at Beckett Shanahan. I'm sorry, it wasn't his eye. It was a severe concussion and lacerations to his face is what it was. I'm sorry.
Well, but there was an about... Well, there is one from the 21st century.
Yeah, where he lost his eye. Yeah, he
lost his eye, but he actually, for a while, they were worried that he'd lost his hearing.
Yeah,
and the idea went that the one of the talons might have gone into his ear and ruptured his eardrum.
Yeah.
Luckily, he regained his hearing, but no, the eye was lost.
Yeah, that's scary. That's just scary, Tiddy. I mean, I told you off air about. And I can tell it here where I was coming home from when True Crime Tuesday was on and Darkness Radio were on air over at iHeartRadio. I was driving home one night and it was winter. It was around December. It was around that time. And I was coming home and I think this was more of a snowy owl. It was the one with the long wingspan, extremely long. It was as wide as my truck at the time. I was driving at least as long as a truck, if not longer, as long as the width of the truck. But this thing strafed the roof. It came up from behind my truck as I was driving home, about to turn into the driveway. And it flew right over the top, just, whew. And for those of people who may not know, you'd have thought it was something like Mothman that flew over the top of the truck. Because when it turned around and came back, it had red eyes. And I was like, whoa, but I sat in the driveway. I didn't get out of the truck because I knew this thing went back up into a tree. So I probably sat in the truck for a good half an hour. I wasn't getting out.
I think you were very wise to do so, because if it had been taking an interest in you as some sort of prey or something to be chased, they don't give up, or at least they don't give up easily. And there are many episodes that I recount in the book about owls that are being beaten with sticks, that are even being shot. And they continue in their attack. They don't relent. They keep going. So the more that you antagonize them, it seems the more they're insistent that you are not going to win this battle.
And you know what's funny? You mentioned the contrast between black and white. The truck was white. I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think of it. I didn't even think of it until you had mentioned that.
Interesting.
Yeah, the truck was white.
It may have just been interesting. Perhaps it was just interested in this giant white thing against a black background. Checking you out. Let's hope that's all it was.
I hope so. God, I just. Who knows? Who knows? I want to, of course, I don't want to spoil the end of the book, but I do want to put a nice tidy bow on where we're at now. Michael was released on an Alford plea. He did get out of jail, but there's more to the story. I know Larry had fought for a while to try to get this owl story out there and to get him completely exonerated on the owl story, and just say, hey, you know what? You're not guilty of anything. Explain to people what an Alford plea is.
So an Alford plea is a sort of legal device in the United States where you can officially plead guilty to a crime on the grounds that you accept that a reasonable jury will likely find you guilty. In other words, you accept that your guilt can be proven beyond reasonable doubt, even though you insist you didn't do it. So Michael was eventually released after he pled guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter. And because he'd already spent 8 years inside and he could be sentenced to time already served, he was set free. But the idea is that he pled guilty to manslaughter in this Alford plea situation, saying, well, a jury will probably find me guilty, but I just want out of jail. And I don't think that I'm going to get a fair trial. I think that the evidence will be stacked against me. And I think Michael was probably right. I don't think Michael got a fair trial the first time around. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he would have got a fair trial the second time around. But the reason for this is that the evidence in this case has never really been fully presented to either the defense or the prosecution. I think both parties are keeping important details from one another. And for that reason, it's been very difficult to make this book because the evidence has had to be sifted through a very, very critical sieve. I've had to figure and sort out lies from truth in a way that I don't think many other cases are subject to. This trial is very much a sea of lies.
Yeah,
and so it's very difficult to get to the bottom to.
Folks, there's a lot more to this book, and you would not believe the rabbit hole you go down when you start reading this book, and it's intriguing. There's so much here that you shake your head at, and you wonder why the deception, and why would you cover up something as innocent as a woodland attack? It's crazy. You would think, well, if it's so easily explainable, I haven't even brought up some of the most crucial evidence yet that suggests that this is easily a woodland attack. There's some very easy, glaring evidence here, isn't there, Tiddy, that we haven't even said yet. That just, yes. you would just go, well, it's so obvious. It's right there. Why would police not just say, you know what, this is just an honest mistake and let Michael go? They could have easily released him within the first couple of years of his sentence and just said, sorry, we made an honest mistake.
Well, the story goes that Michael was railroaded because he was writing these editorials for the newspaper in which he was making fun of the district attorney and he was pointing out that there was police corruption and yada, 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 yada. I don't really buy that. The fact of the matter is that we know that Michael had extensive ties to, well, let's just say the intelligence apparatus of the United States military. He was a Marine. He described himself as having been a security consultant for the government for the previous 15 years in a 1996 interview. This guy had connections and goings-on that we will always be in the dark about. And I think that the reasons that the state had for putting him away were probably something to do with, sensitive information that we'll never be privy to.
Yeah. Yep. Folks, you got to go get this book. Death by Talons is the name of the book. Our guest is author Tiddy Smith. It's available right now from Wild Blue Press. We have a link in the description of this program. Go get it. Go get it right now and read it. I had a wonderful time reading this book. Death by Talons did an owl murder, Kathleen Peterson. Tiddy, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure's been all mine. Pleasure's been all mine. I thank you so much. And please, want to have you back when you have your next book out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, it's time now for us to lighten it up a bit. We're going to go grab Beer City Bruiser. It's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency? I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, the time you all love. It's time for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals. And with that, we bring in the one, the only, the big cuddly bear, the BCB Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm confused today. I found something out that I didn't even think of.
What's that?
So, and it kind of has to do with criminals.
What?
You know,
What?
in the Michael Jackson video, Beat It.
Okay.
Remember when he's walking through the pool hall?
Oh, I know what you're going to bring up.
dancing.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The pool tables have no holes.
That's right. Yeah, they don't.
I'm 45 years old. Love Michael Jackson, just the artist, the music, not what he did.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And just found this out literally before I came on the air with you. And it's thrown me into a state of flux that
Yeah.
how'd they get that past us?
I've actually known that for quite a few years, that they didn't have holes in the pool tables.
Really?
Yeah.
And I now I want to know why. Couldn't have done with anything because he doesn't really dance on them. He just holds on them, but you're going to feel the pocket if you hold on it.
Yeah.
So it's the mystery. It's the rabbit hole that I decided that I'm going to go down after I train the youth of professional wrestling today.
You know, and when you find out, let me know, because I don't claim to know either.
Yeah, and there's no... I understand if he got on top and started dancing, they don't want his foot to get caught.
Hey, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
He never gets on top of him. He's just pulling himself on him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like they're going to destroy the top of the table by dancing on it. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm perplexed.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I can't claim to know either.
Yeah. It's just the little things you find out about some of your favorite stuff.
Guilty pleasure too. People are going to hate me for this, and this is a dumb crime, stupid criminal topic. I like R. Kelly's music. I don't like the man. I don't like what he did.
Yeah.
But I love his music.
I have a theory that everybody in the world has at least one Michael Jackson song that they like.
Oh God, yeah. I love Michael Jackson.
Or one Elvis song they like.
Yeah.
Or one R. Kelly song they like.
Oh God, yeah. Yep.
Doesn't mean you like the people.
No.
But they just,
Yeah. All three. You just named all three. There's I love
and all three have things about them that make you cringe.
Yeah. I love Kentucky Rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime it comes on, I stop. Yeah. Yep. But there's But there was the minute that Jay-Z and R. Kelly had an issue on tour, I knew something wasn't right.
Yeah, because Jay-Z usually loves everybody if they're talented and put out music.
Yep.
And make him money, essentially.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, once he realizes he can make money, that's why Rihanna and him, not that she's not a horrible person, but like he kind of looked past the Chris Brown stuff when he got her. Exactly.
And the minute something happened on tour between the two of them, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that something just wasn't right with R. Kelly. So, but yeah. There's but you'd be surprised how many artists have a huge amount of skeletons in their closet, and it just never comes out.
Oh yeah, you can tell who has the best PR media people by the stuff that's hidden away until something breaks the dam. Because there's always going to be something that breaks the dam.
Oh sure,
whether they're alive or they're dead, it's going to come out.
Yeah, and they do there's a reason they pay a lot of good money for PR people to cover that stuff up and lawyers to cover that stuff up and give them a good image, because they love to get away with it too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That's part of the thrill is you get away with it.
There's actually, there's a story I didn't choose to cover today, and it's the next celebrity scandal, the next celebrity court case you're going to hear of. Gwyneth Paltrow was in the news about that Skigate, court case.
Which is now everyone's saying is the new Mandela effect, because I guess she didn't kill anybody, but now it's coming out that she maybe killed somebody. And it's like, come on, you guys.
The next one that you're going to hear about now is Praz from the Fugees. And believe it or not, that court case is coming up here next week. So you're going to hear a lot about it because Leonardo DiCaprio is involved in that court case.
What are the charges?
I could pull the story up if you want me to.
No, we can wait till next week.
Okay,
That's fine.
we'll wait until
one
next
more
week.
stories come out. But there's another band, the Fugees.
Yeah.
Out of all there's at least one song everybody likes about the Fugees.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and so Praz from the Fugees is going to be in court next week. And that whole thing is going to get drawn out.
Yeah.
So that's got some star-studded effect too with Leonardo DiCaprio. He might get called into court. So yeah, there's more star drama on the way.
So crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's entertaining to all of us regular people.
That's right. It's a little bit of drama. We can all sit back and go, haha, I knew it.
So they don't, that People magazine where you're flipping through and it has stars, they're just like us.
Yep.
They can now do a court edition where they show Johnny Depp in court, Amber Heard in court, Gwyneth Paltrow in court, Leonardo DiCaprio in court now.
Yep.
Look, they're just like us. They all go to court.
That's right. They all go to court. And they all shit with one leg at a time. I don't remember how that goes. No, it's pant leg one leg at a time, and
then you shit.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
You get 3 a year.
Yeah, exactly. You get 3 a year. Boy, if we got some interesting dumb crime, stupid criminals today, Bruiser. Right here in the old backyard of Minnesota, evidently we don't do our Bible study knife free. We'll tell you about how that goes down. I don't know why utensils are brought to Bible study. An Oregon woman decides to pull a Mike Tyson. We'll tell you about that. Of course, we've got Florida crimes going down. And of course, the end of the program is not safe for work. Once again, wieners. We'll tell you about it at the end of the program. That's coming up. But first, let's start it off. Like I said, we're going to talk about why Bible study in Minnesota comes with a utensil, and that being a knife.
To cut the bread. That's, the body of Christ.
Boy, you really went the long way around on that deal.
I did.
Yeah. The picture on these two is quite alarming, to be honest with you. A deranged Minnesota man with a violent past stabbed his wife to death during a family Bible study. I'm having a hard time getting this out. At a relative's home earlier this week, according to officials. Jeez. 40-year-old Robert Castillo of St. Paul was charged with second-degree murder of his wife, 41-year-old Karina Woodhull, after allegedly knifing her repeatedly at a St. Paul residence at around 9 p.m. Tuesday. That, according to the Ramsey County Attorney's Office, when they arrived at the house, they found Woodhull with several stab wounds to her torso, chest, and arms, and Castillo pinned down to the floor by several people. I don't know, maybe too much akavit in the household. Yeah. Woodhull, a mother of 5, was taken to Regents Hospital where she was pronounced dead. Castillo's sister told investigators that she hosts a Bible study at the home on Tuesday nights for members of the family. Hopefully nonviolent.
That guy needs to read the room next time he wants to murder his wife.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably not do it during next time he wants to murder his wife. Like there's going to be a second coming. I see what you did there. Woodhull and Castillo arrived uneventfully and sat next to each other on a couch. It didn't end up that way. At one point during the meeting, Castillo whispered something in Woodhull's ear and then allegedly stabbed his wife repeatedly.
I want to know what he said. I wish we knew.
Yeah. Family members sprung up and tackled and disarmed Castillo. Evidently, it was too late when they did that. One witness told police they had gotten the knife away from him. They believe he would have stabbed more people.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Woodhull's death was officially ruled a homicide. Really? By the Ramsey County Medical Examiner's Office. They aren't too bright over in Ramsey County.
No.
Yeah. After his arrest, Castillo told investigators he and Woodhull had been legally married for a couple of years and lived together in Golden Valley up until about a month ago. He declined to say why the couple no longer lived together, then demanded his attorney. My guess is there might have been a little bit of domestic abuse going on.
I'm thinking that. I'm thinking some domestic abuse. 5 kids does add a lot of stress to a marriage.
Yeah, it does. Castillo's brother, who was also at the Bible study during the stabbing, told cops Woodhull and his brother had been having marital problems. You don't say.
Really?
Yeah. At the time of the killing, Castillo had an active warrant out for failing to appear for pretrial hearing for 4th-degree assault charges in neighboring Washington County.
And I'm assuming it probably goes back to something on his wife.
Oh, it gets better, Bruiser.
Ooh, okay.
In that incident, he allegedly assaulted a prison guard while locked up.
Oh, well, yeah, go after the biggest guy in the yard, right?
That's right. Fine, upstanding young man. Castillo had 8 prior felony convictions, including 1st-degree assault, 2nd-degree assault, possession of a firearm by an ineligible person, and 2nd-degree burglary. So you can tell he's a fine, upstanding, Bible-studying young man.
I was going to say, when I think of a good Bible-studying man, I think of that.
Yep. The 2nd-degree assault conviction was for beating the apparent mother of his child with a hammer. You heard that right.
So he has more children than just children with her. Okay.
Yeah. Causing substantial bodily harm, according to a news outlet. Castillo faces up to 40 years in prison if convicted. I say give him all 40. By the way, let me show you a picture of our young Bible-studying man. That's him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
It's the blood or the blackout teardrop that sells it for me. That right there.
Yep, that'd be him.
That's a good Christian man right there.
That's him. I think he'll be old, gray, and tattooed, and the teardrop will be there. Actually, that's a star in the corner of his eye. What is a star in the corner of your eye?
I don't know, because a teardrop means he murdered somebody.
Yep, but the star in the corner of your eye, I think, means something else.
Maybe it means he's
exceptional at what he does.
He's a star in Jesus's eyes.
Sure. On the other side of that, Bruiser, I found a Family Dollar worker who will do the job if you come in to try and rob her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She'll unload a clip on your ass. So from one extreme to the other.
So I picture her wearing the shirt that says, "I don't call 911" with the gun pointing at you.
Yes, that's her. Family Dollar worker was arrested for shooting a shoplifter over 10 times, nearly killing him.
What are you shoplifting from Dollar General? I'll lend you $1, man.
Right. So here's the deal. 10 times and nearly killed him. Does that mean that she's a good aim and hit all the essential points, or she's a terrible shot?
I think she's a terrible shot. She was actually trying to make him dance. You know how they did that in the Old West movies, where they make you dance? But she ended up hitting him.
An employee at a Family Dollar in Arizona was arrested for, by the way, we got to have Papa Bruiser go over and meet her to see exactly how her eyesight is and if she's wearing glasses.
Yeah.
An employee at a Family Dollar in Arizona was arrested for shooting a shoplifter who slugged him in the face when the worker asked him to leave. I take it it's a he, not a she. The employee, Kevin Salas Madrid, encountered the alleged serial shoplifter inside the Phoenix store near 68th Avenue and Indian School Road just before 8 p.m. on Wednesday and warned the suspect to stop stealing and exit the dollar store.
Hey, you knock that off. You stop that.
Clack, clack. The pair then began arguing when the shoplifter punched Madrid in the face, at which point the store worker pulled a gun and opened fire. No warning, really.
Maybe his eyes were welled up. He got him right in the nose. You know, your eyes well up and you get punched in the nose, so you didn't have a clear shot, clear vision.
That would explain the 10 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah. He allegedly shot the suspect 10 times and continued to unleash bullets even as the man was on the floor. Ow.
Yeah.
The victim was rushed to a local hospital with critical injuries. Madrid later told police he did not see if the man had any weapons. He didn't wait. He was like,
he was stealing cereal. I had to get him.
he's like, wait a minute. Did you punch me? I believed you punched me. I just see Antonio Banderas in this. Excuse me. Did you punch me? You did not punch me. By the way,
I now shoot you.
By the way, did I thank you? I just see that line from Desperado. Did I thank you? I will.
Which, listeners, if you haven't seen that movie, go out of your way to watch it. It is an amazing Robert Rodriguez movie. It was starring Antonio Banderas. And I remember when I went and saw it, I'm like, this isn't going to be that good. And now it's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, I love Desperado. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of Once Upon a Time in Mexico? I just thought it was
I thought it was okay.
Yeah. It didn't live up as far as a sequel goes, but
no,
it was okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Police reportedly described in a probable cause statement that Madrid stated he had made the worst decision of his life. Madrid was ultimately charged with attempted murder, among other counts. What? Why wouldn't it be self-defense? 1 punch, 10 bullets. I mean, come on.
It evens out, right?
Eventually. I mean, it's not like he tried to kill him, really.
Why? Why is Dollar General allowing their employees to conceal and carry?
No, Family Dollar. Dollar General may allow it. Yeah, but Family Dollar doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Family Dollar spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment, probably because they were searching the manual for PR to see how we handle this. The statement adds, Kevin explained he was struck and decided to shoot, but looking back, he realized it was egregious.
The PR department's like, we've always had other employees shot. We've never had employees shoot somebody.
Yeah, how do we handle that? The statement adds, Kevin explained he was struck and decided to shoot, but looking back, he realized it was egregious. That was the formal statement from Family.
Thank you, Family Dollar.
This next story can only be described as dumb crime, stupid festivals.
Okay.
I mean, we have different types of conventions out there, but we don't really have a festival. Festivals suggests happy times.
Oh, yes. Yeah. You're festive at a festival.
This one, however, is in the Hamptons, and it's a crime festival on, I believe it's Gilgo Beach.
So it's a rich festival.
Yes.
We're going to the Hamptons.
Yes.
Do you summer in the Hamptons? I do.
We'll get a nice craft beer, a Prosecco, and then we'll go out to Gilgo Beach, where they're doing a crime festival on the Gilgo Beach serial killer. It's been blasted as heartless.
So this serial killer is who they haven't caught. I don't even think they have any suspects. Is probably watching the news going, hell yeah. This serial killing thing's great. Look.
Celebrate me, rich bitches.
Yeah. I'm going to keep killing you sons of bitches.
Mm-hmm. This is one Hamptons festival that isn't too cool for ghoul. That's what that's what it says in the beginning line of this story. Yeah, too cool for ghoul. I just made it cute, and I shouldn't have. Yeah. A Long Island Mystery and Crime Festival that focuses on the elusive Gilgo Beach serial killer is being blasted as heartless and misogynistic for exploiting the brutal killings of young women and sex workers. Yeah.
He's killing them all.
He is. The inaugural Hamptons Whodunit Festival.
See, now that's cool, but focusing in on just the one serial killer we haven't caught yet, that's where they're having an error. Yeah,
it kicks off in April and promises to explore the notorious string of unsolved murders through a moderated panel with former NYPD homicide investigator Joe, I believe it's Giaclone, and filmmaker Josh Zeman. Calling this a festival is kind of sick, said one local, while another deadpanned, oh, a murder festival, how quaint.
Oh. Are they hoping the serial killer shows up and thanks everybody?
I think, yeah, he'll get on stage and be like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you for showing up here today.
I enjoyed murdering every single one of them. Thank you.
If I may, let me go about my knife swashing pattern, if I could. It's very, very intricate, if I could so much as explain to you all, if I may.
I really, really, really hope that when they catch this guy, he mentions this festival in his confession.
I think he will. I think he'll talk about the. You know, he's going to make an appearance somewhere in the crowd. He
is. He's got to. Serial killers are narcissistic. They want to see their,
Maybe that's why
Ed Kemper used to hang out with the actual police that were investigating him to get stories from them.
Maybe that's why they're doing it. Maybe this is being put on by the cops.
Hey, look, we figured it out. Yeah. Maybe he will.
The hour-long panel, The Elusive Long Island Serial Killer, Gilgo, will focus on the remains of 10 different people, 4 of whom were identified as female sex workers, discovered beginning in 2010 on Gilgo and Oak Beach in Suffolk County. The April 13th through the 16th event billed as an exciting weekend that will chill you to the bone. Also touts an exclusive $75 cocktail party.
Jeez.
Bruisers, $75 at the iconic Upper Crust Maidstone Club in East Hampton. So they're going a ways to try and catch the killer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I'm the serial killer, I want a cut of that money.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If I get caught at this festival, you're at least paying my legal defense.
Or give me 10%. One of the other.
$7.50 from every drink sold.
That's right. The event website promises you'll join Professor Plum for wine, cocktails, and hors d'oeuvres, while the dress code bans what's not considered appropriate attire, which would be jeans, sneakers, collarless shirts, and shorts.
Well, I'm out.
Yeah, so at least business.
I don't believe in sleeves, no.
At least business cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could.
Well, yeah, because you're in the Hamptons there, Timmy. You got to wear your dock clothes.
That's right. At least your dock clothes. So at least polos, khakis, and boat shoes.
Yep.
At least. Despite the posh soirees, one of the organizers insisted that they were focused on finding justice and finding the killers who committed these atrocities. So we are somewhat focused here.
We are. We're focused.
Yep. We have an eclectic range of participants. Some of our moderators had family members who were murdered. So, of course, they're not partying all the time, like Eddie Murphy would say. And we don't take lightly that there's some tough content, but we do it with respect. That's right. That's why it's a $75 cocktail party and not a BYOB or solo cups at the door.
Exactly. They want to make sure they get the most respectful people to come and gawk at this scenario.
That's right. A co-sponsor of the festival, Hampton's publication Dan's Papers, has faced a barrage of outrage from locals on social media. I'm undone by the crude and uncaring sentiment of the crimes against women that is somehow marketed as entertainment, one West Hamptonite wrote. This whole enterprise is disappointing, coarse, and seethingly misogynistic. A festival based on the death of women is absolutely heartless and cruel. That's the other quote that's there.
They obviously don't know about all the other festivals that go on for serial killers.
Yeah, they have no idea. Yeah. But Zeman argued that the Gilgo session was not intended to minimize the horror, but to keep the brutal murders in the public eye and fuel the investigation. This is in no way a celebration of such tragedies, but an opportunity for us to come together, said Zeman, who directed A&E's The Killing Season, a docuseries about the Gilgo Beach murders. It is a place where we congregate to delve into these stories. I think we need to take advantage of any opportunity to keep this story in the public eye and get these cases the attention they deserve. So there you go.
I agree with them there, but don't call it a festival.
Yeah, festival's a little tacky.
Because like you said, when you think festival, you think like a party. This isn't a party.
Yeah, I'm thinking concerts and beach balls and tap beer and, maybe some shrooms. I don't know. Like,
they're not having, Bruce Springsteen play a concert there,
Right, right, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine being approached to perform at this festival? Like, hey, Bruiser and Cruiser, we don't got an album dropping next week.
That's right.
Why don't you come on out to the Serial Killer Festival? We'd like you to drop some beats for us.
I'm thinking Cruiser and Bruiser are hosting. Fish is going to play. We've got, Don't Take the Brown Acid,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's going on at the Gilgo Festival.
We'll throw in the band Ice Nine Kills because all their songs are about serial killers. So.
That's right. So
There
I
we
saw
go.
somebody mention something about somebody, their kid fell asleep to Ice Nine Kills online.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on, I think it was on the neighborhood boards on
They're a great band.
here in the
but
Twin Cities.
there's everything that's based on them is based on serial killers. They flat out say they're inspired by serial killers.
Yeah. Somebody's kid here in the Twin Cities fell asleep to Ice Nine Kills. And
They might want to take that kid in.
yeah, I think that therapy is in the agenda. I don't know. We'll move on here. It says here that a man claiming to be baby Danielle breaks into a daycare and asks the staff to play along as he steals diapers. Speaking of therapy, we found one for you. A 65-year-old New York man allegedly repeatedly broke into a daycare center, stole diapers, and left money and bizarre notes for staff that asked them to play along while acting as if he were a baby girl.
So he had money,
Mm-hmm.
but never thought, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store
Nope.
to buy diapers. Nope. Instead, I'm going to break into a daycare center,
Yep.
steal the diapers, but leave the money because I don't want them to be out.
Nope.
And hope to God they don't call the police because I'm really just a baby girl.
Spoiler alert, probably wanted to be pampered, if you know what I mean, by the daycare center and wanted to be changed. Yeah.
He's wearing those diapers for sure.
Yes, he is. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office arrested Holly resident 65-year-old Daniel R. Sealer after he allegedly broke into the Inspire Learning and Child Care Center in the town of Clarkston, about 20 miles west of Rochester. The center's director told authorities that an employee on January 30th found $120 in a note that asked if the daycare center had any adult-sized diapers and if employees could play along, in quotes, with them. The director said staff found a similar note accompanied by $200 a week later.
Oh, okay.
The daycare center installed a surveillance camera after the first incident and alerted police. On the morning of February 11th, a Saturday, by the way, so it was on the day off, the surveillance system alerted staff of activity at the daycare center. Upon arrival at the facility, the director said she found that someone had rummaged through the diaper bin and left another note and more money.
Ah.
Well, they're making money on the bit.
I was going to say, he's financially replacing what he's taken.
Mm-hmm. The note reportedly included sizes for pants, shoes, bras, and dresses and indicated that the man wanted to play as a baby girl and referred to himself as baby Danielle. Okay.
He was quoted as saying, a goo-goo, a gaga, goo, goo-ga.
And then obla-dee, obla-da, life goes on. I don't know. He just continued the lyric. Mm-hmm. The following Saturday, staff, now they're not stuff. Staff were again alerted by the security system, and video showed a man trying to put multiple diapers together to make a big one.
He's being creative at least. Look at him.
Yeah. Duct tape is a beautiful thing. The director said the man ran to the bathroom during the incident, pulled his pants down, put the diaper on, then put the pants back on and ran out of the child care center. Because why not?
The only downside is he can't go to the bathroom in that diaper because he has no one to change him. They didn't agree or disagree.
That's right.
Do you think his last note that he left had will you change me? Yes, no, with boxes?
Yeah, with the little check boxes. Will you change baby Danielle? Check yes or no. The director called the police again and reported what she saw in the video. The incident also included Sealer allegedly drinking half a bottle of formula, using a bib, and stealing a total of 3 diapers. Sealer was arrested and charged with burglary and petite larceny. In France, it's petit larceny. Yeah. Petit. He was released after an appearance ticket. Police said Sealer confessed to the string of incidents and argued that he was working through addiction.
Addiction to what, man?
Formula.
Some of us, man, we just can't get off that nipple.
or the feeling of smooth diapers against his ass, one or the other.
You know what I told my son when he got to be of the age to make love to women? I said, son, took us 9 months to get out and the rest of our lives to get right back in. This guy clearly is trying to go about the wrong way.
The daycare center's owner said staff did not know Sealer and that they have since boosted security measures at the facility. By the way, if you see a guy drinking formula and trying to put diapers on, shoot to kill.
We have no baby Danielle here.
That's right.
If she calls, we don't know her.
If baby Danielle pulls out an ID, kick him in the balls.
Baby Danielle's a man. A full-grown retired man.
We call it the crying game part 2. Literally, the crying game part 2. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office did not immediately respond to Fox News Digital's request for comment because they were too embarrassed. They can't catch the fuck. That's why.
No, it's because he was putting time out right away and had to take a nap. Both because he thinks he's a baby and he's 65 years old.
He falls asleep naturally. That's why.
The car ride really tuckered him out.
I suppose it's not hard to feed him baby cereal. It probably eats it naturally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We move on.
Please. Because that guy hasn't.
From going to eating formula to eating a human ear.
Oh.
Oregon woman.
Mike Tyson?
Yes, like Mike Tyson. An Oregon woman who bit off security guard's earlobe is sentenced to prison. And why not? An Oregon shoplifter who bit off the earlobe of a security guard during a department store theft was sentenced to more than 5 years in prison. Seen one too many Holyfield fights, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That employee could have used a gun in that situation,
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Too many security guards walking around with just handcuffs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Security guards confronted 31-year-old Ashley Ruth Clark as she exited the Nordstrom at Washington Square Mall in, I believe, is it Tigard, Oregon, or Tigard, or Tigard? Either way, it's Oregon. On July 22nd, she was nabbed with over $800 of merchandise.
Oh, wow.
Now, in all fairness, depending on what part of Nordstrom's you're in, $800.
That could be one item.
Yeah, and $800 could be 2 outfits or one outfit. According to the Washington County District's Attorney's Office, it was $800 worth of merchandise, but as guards attempted to recover the stolen goods, Clark physically resisted arrest and began shouting obscenities at them. That wasn't where she stopped, however.
No. When she realized that wasn't working.
Yeah, that doesn't work. In the middle of the struggle, Clark bit one of the guard's earlobes, tearing off at least a half-inch of flesh.
Ow!
You effing vampire. The victim was taken to the hospital where medical professionals were unable to reattach her earlobe.
Oh, so she's only got half an ear. No more earrings for you.
Just call her Mickey Foley from here on out.
Yeah.
Officials said that when the Tigard police arrested Clark, she gave a false name and date of birth to the officers, who realized she had 2 outstanding warrants for her arrest. Clark was sentenced to 70 months in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree assault and first-degree attempted robbery. She is being transferred to the Oregon Department of Corrections to serve her sentence, followed by 3 years of post-prison supervision after her release. The Washington County District Attorney's Office acknowledges the work of the Tigard Police Department, because Tigards are a wonderful thing, and the Nordstrom Loss Prevention Team and the Washington Square Mall Security for their assistance in this investigation, the DA office said, and they said, oh, by the way, sorry for that earlobe.
And during the whole interview, the girl that lost her ear is like, huh?
What?
Huh? Speaking of my good ear.
What? What?
What?
What?
What?
Just had to add that part to the story. What? What? This next story egregious use of food. Fair warning to our friends who are of the culinary ilk and hate to see food abused.
Oh, we all hate to see food abused.
But in this case, you're going to hate this story, Bruiser.
All right, what did they do to the food?
We all love a good slice of pizza.
Oh, love it. I just had some for lunch.
Did you? It was good? Good stuff?
Oh, fantastic. Day after, too. So even real good.
Even better. We go to Florida, of course.
Of course.
Where they don't have good pizza, so it's probably best used as a weapon. Just saying. Florida man slapped his face, or rather slapped his wife in the face with a slice of pizza during an argument in their residence. What is it with Florida and people in Florida hitting people in the face with food?
I don't know, because isn't that where we had the lady take the ground beef and hit the other lady with ground beef? Yeah.
And they hit each other in the face with cheeseburgers and random French fries. I think somebody got hit in the face with French fries.
I've been slapped with a pizza, though.
Have you?
In a match, yeah.
But was it a whole pizza?
No, it was a slice of pizza.
Was it a slice of pizza?
Yeah, but they held it like, you know how gentlemen used to start fights back in the day where they take a glove
with a glove, and I challenge you to a duel?
Yeah, so we each had a piece of pizza and challenged each other to a duel and slapped each other with pizza.
I'm guessing that's how this man hit his wife with the... Do you hit him with the thin end or the thick end?
I held the thick end and he did too, and we hit each other with the... And it was Fan's Pizza. We took Fan's Pizza, so it was warm.
Oh, gosh, really? With a warm piece of pizza?
Well, warm you've been to a wrestling show. It's warm as a concession stand pizza.
It's lukewarm. It isn't hot.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But imagine if it came right out of the warmer, like out of the top of the warmer. It'd be, you could get scalded.
Yeah, we were fine.
Okay, well, good.
This lady might not be. Depends.
Right, if it came hot out of the oven.
Yeah, if it was freshly delivered or he just made it.
Yeah, let's find out. Florida man slaps his wife in the face with a slice of pizza during an argument in their residence, according to the cops who reported that the alleged crime scene was sauce splattered. Dear God.
Officer Dan, what are you doing? Stop licking that.
That's blood splatter, not
pizza sauce.
Marinara. Police were dispatched Friday afternoon to a residence in Marion County in response to a 911 hang-up. Upon arriving at the home, officers encountered 39-year-old Ortelio Alfonso. That's a spicy meatball.
Yeah, he's taking it back to his roots.
Yeah, he is. Who said he had a verbal altercation with his spouse. The victim, however, said the dispute turned violent, telling officers that Alfonso grabbed a slice of pizza and slapped her in the left side of her face with it. That's a quote, by the way.
You eat the pizza. Eat the pizza.
You're going to take it in the left side of the face. The woman said the couple had been arguing about the disciplining of their son. This is how you take it to Junior. You're not going to slap him. You're going to take it to the face with a pizza.
If you hit them with the pizza, it's not the salt.
He's not going to have a blood pressure problem. He's going to take a pizza to the face.
Bing Crosby used oranges. We're from Italy. We use the pizza.
Really? Bing Crosby used to hit his son with oranges?
He used to beat his kids with oranges because if you get hit with an orange, it doesn't bruise you. You've never heard him say that? There's an interview out there of him saying that in someone recorded a conversation with him.
That's brilliant.
I forget what movie it was, but they use a movie line where they're like, hey, use oranges. It doesn't bruise. That's what Bing taught me. And it's true. Like you can hit people with oranges and you'll be fine.
Was it Kathy Lee Crosby that told people that? A cop noted that the woman had pizza sauce all over her shirt and the remnants of pizza in her hair and ear area. I wonder what the toppings were. Do you think it was a garbage pizza?
I'm curious too. Like if you're slapping somebody, you want it to be pepperoni because you get the flat part of it.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, you want to add the sausage and the mushroom and all that because then you add some weapons to it.
Yeah. To me, I'm not a big fan of the veggies. So, you can hit somebody with a garbage pizza all day long.
Yeah.
It's garbage.
See, I like supreme pizzas. Those are good. But my go-to is always meat lovers. You can't go wrong with meat lovers.
No, you can't. You can't. That's the ultimate.
Yeah.
You eat the meat lovers. You don't slap people with it. You slap people with the garbage pizza because they're veggies.
See, I know Mrs. Bruiser would be more mad at me for wasting the pizza than actually slapping him with it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Slap people with a salad. I mean, you know, who needs a salad? Additionally, that sounds like a t-shirt idea.
I was just going to say, that's a t-shirt.
Yeah, slap people with a salad. Who needs a salad? Additionally, the officer reported, I observed there to be pizza sauce on the walls and the ceiling of the kitchen area, which further corroborated the victim's statement.
Yeah. He swang it like this. There's a spatter. Yep. Okay. Yep. Cast off comes over here. All right, CSI, we're done. Let's get up.
Do you bring students from the academy over to do the spatter class with the pizza?
You either bring them from the academy or you go to the local culinary school and you bring them over to identify the sauce.
Yeah, exactly. After being handcuffed and read his rights, Alfonso reportedly admitted striking the victim with the slice of pizza in the face, adding that he threw the pizza and did not physically strike the victim with his hands, just with the pizza. Alfonso was arrested on a misdemeanor battery count and booked into the county jail, from which he was released on Saturday. Alfonso, who works for a landscaping firm and lives in an Ocala suburb, is scheduled for an arraignment on March 29th, which is coming up here. Let me show you Mr. Alfonso here. That's what it looks like when you get struck with a pizza.
He's a scary dude.
Yeah, doesn't he look like, does he look like Mario or Luigi?
No, he doesn't.
Well, if he grew a full beard.
Yes.
Kind of looks like Luigi if he grew a full beard and was angry.
He does look like a guy that should own his own pizza shop, though.
He does, yeah. Looks like the overworked pizza shop owner, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
We move on. We're still in Florida. A 52-year-old man is arrested for a spring break mistake. You know, spring break has been full of crimes this year, Bruce.
Yes.
Lots of shootings.
Of course.
Yeah, lots of shootings. This isn't so much a shooting as a Missouri businessman was way too old for, they're calling it way too old for such a mistake or such nonsense in St. Petersburg.
He shouldn't be on spring break at 52 unless he went back to school for something.
You know, at my age, I'm thinking about maybe a year of spring break and just utter nonsense.
They call that vacation.
What's that?
They call that vacation. That's not spring break anymore. It's just vacation.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about just a college-like experience for a year. At my age, I'm not getting any younger, Bruiser. I just need to let loose, let free. You know,
so you're going to go to class and all that, or you just want to
no. Just
hang out at the frat house with everybody?
Yeah, have one of those. If Johnny Knoxville can do it in these movies, I think I can do it, like a bad grandpa type of deal.
Sure, you can. I have faith in you.
Yeah, I have faith in you.
I think you'll be a hit with the frat boys.
Yeah, doing a line of coke off a hooker's ass in Florida, why not?
Sure. I mean, keep up with those young studs.
I've never done it before, but who's to stop me from doing it now?
You can head right over to the Omega Moose sorority house and pick of the litter.
That's right. Keg stand, I don't think I can get up that high, but why not?
You've never done a keg stand?
No, I never have.
Really?
Yeah.
I have. I've done many. What about WAP? Have you ever drank WAP?
Oh, God, yeah.
Temple juice? Yeah.
Like a half a barrel? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a go-to college drink right there. So
yeah. Mixed it up, too, in a big old garbage can.
You never did a panty raid?
Oh, maybe.
So other than going to class, you're really not missing much of the keg stand. You're not really missing much of the college experience there.
No. I did quite a bit in college, yeah.
I was saying you went to college too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm just saying. Maybe I want to relive some of that. Maybe I want to. Maybe I want to take that experience further.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. After using a butter knife that caused extensive paint damage to a 2023 Nissan, a Missouri man vacationing in Florida copped to the criminal mischief, describing his ferocious and felonious conduct as a spring break mistake, according to police.
Hey guys, you told me what happens on spring break stays on spring break. I'm sorry. I'm on spring break.
The defendant, however, is a 52-year-old real estate executive, not a collegian, sharing a spring break hotel in St. Petersburg room with 8 friends.
So he just, okay.
Yeah. According to cops, the vehicle's owner, which was a married couple, spotted a man standing near their car on Thursday evening and making motions near the driver's side. Making motions in quotes.
Yeah, that worries me, especially in Florida.
Yeah. When the duo confronted the man, he laughed and ran down the street.
I don't think he laughed so much as he giggled.
Yeah, it probably was wasn't a chuckle or a guffaw. It was probably a giggle. Yeah. Like the Joker. Upon examining the car, the couple discovered the entire side of their vehicle had been scratched up and had extensive paint damage. Lying next to the car on the floor was a silver butter knife that was used to damage the vehicle. The car, which was parked outside the Toasted Monkey restaurant.
Interesting name for a restaurant.
Yeah. Sustained damages in excess of $1,000. Yikes.
He didn't even write anything funny or draw a penis on it or anything. He just got rid of paint.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
A review of security camera footage yielded a clear image of the suspect, and cops determined that the vandal had put his phone number down on the Toasted Monkey's wait list. So he was easily catchable. After calling,
it's going to be a 15-minute wait. Oh, okay, I got something to do. Can I use a butter knife real quick?
Yeah, can I have that butter knife for a second? After calling the number, police met up with Clifford Craig Edwards, who reportedly admitted to the crime post Miranda and termed the offense a spring break mistake. Yeah. Edwards was arrested on a felony criminal mischief charge. He was released from the county jail Friday morning after his wife came and got him. Guess how much was his bond, Bruiser?
$5,000. $750.
A little higher.
$1,200.
$2,000.
$2,000. Okay.
Over $1,000 damage to the car.
But that's not the worst, is he has to deal with his wife now on the way home.
Oh yeah. Edwards, who's from Springfield, Missouri, is a licensed real estate salesperson whose LinkedIn page, yes, he has a LinkedIn page, lists him as development director of Bryan Properties, a Springfield firm that builds and manages residential developments. I'll show you a picture of him here, Bruiser.
Next time, boss, just go speaking through the quad.
Doesn't he look like a dick?
That's not his mugshot, right?
No,
that's got to be from his real estate. Yeah, I would not buy a house from him.
That's his LinkedIn, I think, picture. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a douche.
He's a douche, isn't he? That, my friend, is the guy who got.
That's the douche.
That's the guy who needed to relive his childhood.
And he didn't even do it right. He just scratched paint off. Like everyone knows, you put a penis on it. You write a swear word. You wash me.
Yeah. You put your ass on the window.
Exactly. You got to be creative.
Yeah. We continue with spring break shenanigans. This one a little bit more serious.
Okay.
We continue in Florida. Florida police are looking for a spring break squatter caught on home surveillance showing his shiny rear end.
He's pressing ham.
Now we're talking. Now we're into it.
This is spring breaking right here.
Yep. This time, a woman is in hot water after she popped a squat, literally, in a Florida resident's yard.
Well, when you got to go, you got to go.
That's right. Well, by the way, we're in the NSFW part of our show.
Oh, okay.
Turn down your listening device if you're at work. Issue the kids out of the room. We'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're into it now. We have trespassing, not traditional trespassing. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, who sounds like a Southern sheriff, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
My name's Grady Judd, and I represent Polk County.
And I got Junior getting ready to take my spot when I retire.
That's right. You can elect me, or you can die. Grady,
you elect me, I'll make sure everybody that hates you dies.
That's right. By the way, we can have a beer. We ain't having coffee. We're having a beer.
Yeah.
Grady Judd said in a video message, it involves a lady that's gone into a neighborhood on Lake Winterset. She's gone into the side yard, into the hedge area. She's popped a squat and showed us her shiny rear end.
Okay.
I bet you Grady stayed on that video for about good 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Then he was done with it, pulled up his trousers, secured his belt, and then handed the video over to his colleagues.
Let's go catch this one.
After a quick nap.
I need a sandwich.
A sandwich and a nap.
Sandwich and a Gatorade. Then I can take a nap.
That's right. Anybody got a toothpick?
And we're gonna go catch that ass. I mean, woman. We're gonna catch that
right.
woman.
That's right. Authorities are now looking for the woman believed to be a spring breaker who trespassed to relieve herself on March 16th at approximately 4 p.m.
Are they just handing out photos of her ass? Have you seen this ass anywhere?
Yeah, but you seen this shiny rear end anywhere? The woman was spotted on surveillance video walking into the yard, briefly looking around and quickly finding a hedge before leaving the private property. We can call her the spring break squatter. I bet you it took Grady all of a weekend to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Because last week during spring break, she walked onto private property in a gated community on Lake Winterset and squatted in the yard, Heartland Crime Stopper said in a Facebook post. Polk County Sheriff's Office and the Heartland Crime Stoppers stressed that squatters are an ongoing problem on Lake Winterset in Winter Haven, Florida.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Yeah. What if somebody stopped their car or their boat and walked up into your yard and started the number one thing or the number two thing in your hedges? Sheriff Judd asked. I'd ask them to bring a grocery bag and pick up the number two.
Yeah.
If it's number one,
my dogs do enough. There's a pooper scooper over there.
If it's number one, first of all, it's sterile.
Yeah.
It's probably watering my shrubs.
And they're doing it in the shrubs.
Yeah.
How many animals go in there?
Yeah. And it's okay. We're all going to live.
Yeah. And it's not like we all haven't peed in a shrub before.
That's right. Anyone who recognizes the woman is asked to call the sheriff's office at 863-298-6200, mainly because the sheriff wants her number.
I want you all look for this little lady right here. Gotta come see me.
You can also remain anonymous and also be eligible for a cash reward.
Oh.
Because the sheriff really wants to find her.
Yeah.
Or contact Heartland Crime Stoppers. Here's what Sheriff Judd had to say. You ready for this? I think I can do the voice.
You say, call me. Don't worry about Crime Stoppers. Just call me. Here's my cell phone. Here's my beeper. You call me.
He said, look at this here video. Help us identify this lady. Call Crime Stoppers. You'll get money. And we'll help put her shiny rear end in the county jail where it belongs.
And I'll make sure that shiny rear end is in jail the whole time she's got to be there.
She might get a visit for lunch.
I'm going to call her the Judd Special.
The Judd Special. We continue on with our NSFW block of stories. We have 2 left here on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Bruiser, I thought of you when this story came in from one of our listeners. We thank you very much. By the way, if you have a story for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, email it to tim@darknessradio.com. Are you ready?
Yep.
You might have seen this one on the news.
Okay.
An ex-pro wrestler turned security guard disarmed a gunman at a Tampa strip club and prevented a mass shooting.
I have heard of this.
Yeah. It was a good story. Actually, the video was quite funny. I've seen the
video too. It made the rounds in the wrestling locker rooms.
Yeah. When he went up in front of the media, that was what was hysterical. Because he described the technique in which he disarmed the gunman.
He was reliving his promo days from back in the day.
He cut a promo, brother.
Yeah, he did.
And it was a shoot.
Yes, it was.
A brave security guard likely thwarted a mass shooting when you know what was funny? I'm going to interrupt my own self here. It wasn't the guy who described how he disarmed the gunman. It was the other security guard who needed to get in. Did you see that guy?
Oh yeah, he jumps in at the like halfway through, doesn't he?
Yeah, he jumps in and he's like, okay, so I was on the other side of the club.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, brother, if I would have been there, I would have done this. And everybody turns their camera away.
Yeah, like it's when he says, as soon as he says, I was on the other side of the club and saw what was going on, the hell went, yeah, okay.
They're like, yeah, whatever, dude. Sure. A brave security guard likely thwarted a mass shooting when he intercepted a deranged gunman wearing a devil mask who was trying to enter a packed Tampa strip club early on Sunday morning. Manny Resto. That sounds like a gimmick. A former professional wrestler turned doorman intercepted 44-year-old Michael Rudman as he tried to force his way into the Mons Venus with a 9mm pistol at about 1:15 a.m. Funny enough, intern Yoko's uncle used to go to the Mons Venus all the time when he was young.
Really?
Yeah, just saying.
This is a historical location.
He could describe to you the smell of the carpet at 2 a.m.
I'm pretty sure it smells like every other strip club at 2 a.m.
Oh, I think it had its own distinct odor, my friend.
Some alcohol, baby oil, and shame.
Well, a little bit of the buffet if you were in the champagne room. Just saying. I saw him raise his hand, and he had a gun. 55-year-old Resto said during a press conference afterward, I saw him point it toward the door, and I decided that he was not going to enter the club and hurt anybody. I screwed up the quote there, but you get the idea. Resto, listen to this gimmick. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Resto, who was once known by the ring name of the Puerto Rican Punisher.
Yep, that's how I didn't know his real name. I knew that one.
Yep. Sprang for the gun and sparked a full-on brawl with the masked Rudman that was captured on the club's security camera. Resto knocked the gun away as the two battled, then picked it up and held Rudman at gunpoint as another bouncer, who tried to take some credit.
I was going to say, this is the other guy. Danny
Bayham helped subdue him. I don't know that he helped subdue him. I think
he came over at the last minute and
he's like, hey, dude, stop.
Yeah.
Pretty much what he
hey,
did.
what are you doing?
Hey, devil, you stop there. We're all thankful for their heroism, interim Tampa Police Chief Lee Burkaw said at a press conference in which he was flanked by Resto and Bayham. I have no doubt that had they not stepped in, many lives would have been lost. The gun went off once during the minute-long struggle, Burkaw said, but the round only hit the club's door. There were about 200 people inside the club during the confrontation, but no one was hurt. Cops found 2 more loaded magazines in Rudman's pocket, Burkaw said. In his truck, they found 9 knives, 2 holsters, and loose ammunition. Rudman's past criminal record included charges of domestic violence, battery, reckless driving, and DUI. He also had an active risk protection order due to his mental state. He had been jailed in Hillsborough County with no bond, police said. He faced charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, battery, and an aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, among other things, that according to the Tampa Bay Times, the security guards suffered minor injuries from the fight. The chief said he was immediately reminded of the 2016 mass shooting at Pulse, which is a gay nightclub in Orlando that left 49 people dead and 53 wounded. Could they have prevented something like that? I definitely think so, Burkaw said, and we're grateful that they stood up. They are 2 great heroes who need to be recognized. What's interesting, I believe the initial security guard who talked, and I'll show you a picture of the perpetrator. The initial security guard said this guy was upwards of, I think he said 350 or 365 pounds. And at one point he was moving both of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's a big boy.
Yeah. When he tried to secure him alone, he was having a hard time moving him and getting him to the ground, but he initially secured him and the gun.
Yeah.
And got him down on his own.
Him getting the gun was the turnaround in the fight, is what he was saying.
Yep. But yeah, he said he had a hard time getting him down to the ground and getting the gun, but he initially got him down all by himself. And then Mr. Wonderful, the second guy, came over and he's like, "You stay down now, guy."
I'm here. I'm helping. Look, my foot is on him. I'm helping.
Yeah, you guy, you. Yeah.
You big, large man, stay down. There's two of us now.
You're outnumbered, mister. You stay there now, guy. So yeah, but yeah, a crisis avoided there at Mons Venus, which
okay.
Which in turn Yoko's uncle, by the way, could still recite the floor plan to you by memory.
He's probably like, "Oh yeah, this is what he did, because if he would have went past this,
yep.
This is here."
Yeah, I could tell you exactly where the bullet hole landed on that door because I remember sleeping by that door one night. Just saying. We move on. We're still in Florida. A lot of Florida stories today.
Okay.
We're chock-a-block full of Florida stories. You ever just...
I think Florida just needs to be labeled not safe for work.
Yeah, it's a not safe for work state. You ever just happen to be out there as a cop looking for a naked woman in a tree and end up finding a dead body? It just so happens that happens.
What luck?
What luck? Florida deputies were out there searching for a naked woman in a tree. They happen to grow in trees in Florida.
Adam and Eve, like they're always portrayed with the leaves over their privates, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that grow in trees in Florida. Oranges, certain citrus fruits, lemons, limes.
Okay.
Kittens grow in trees in Florida, and naked women. They all grow in trees in Florida.
All the nice little things.
All the nice little things. We go to West Palm Beach, where a search for a naked woman in a Florida neighborhood ended up leading to a homicide investigation. The Palm Beach...
Thanks, naked lady.
Yeah, thanks, naked lady. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office said at 9:14 a.m. on Sunday that deputies got a call about a nude woman climbing a tree in a neighborhood in West Palm Beach. I would have left it alone.
Yeah.
But, some neighbors...
Hey, if she wants to try and climb a tree naked, to each their own. I'm not pulling the splinters out.
Right. We all have experiences we need to try in this lifetime. We all have our little experiences we need to try. She had that.
Yep.
She had that.
She's going to learn real quick when she falls and lands on a branch.
Ow. Yeah, well, it's either going to be a harsh one or a pleasurable one. One or the other. Yeah. When they arrived, deputies set up a perimeter and caught the woman as she ran through the neighborhood.
Well, that's good. So now you get the dead body, but they got the woman too. So good for them.
Well, I don't know if they got the body yet. However, things took a darker turn when their investigation took them to a home on Magnolia Drive. According to the sheriff's office, they found another woman dead inside the residence.
Ooh, so it wasn't okay. So they had to go someplace for it.
Yep, dark turn. Deputies said the naked woman is believed to have been involved in the other woman's death, but her role is not yet known.
Do you think when they pulled up, she looked at him and went, "That's not mine"?
Yeah, nope. Nothing. Neither woman had been identified as of this report. The living woman was taken to a hospital for treatment and clearance, that according to deputies.
Okay.
Yeah. So, not all things naked are good. That's what we're learning from this story.
If there's a naked woman in the tree, leave her in the tree.
Well, I don't think that's the lesson here, Bruiser. I don't think that's a lesson here. No,
it's not. It's not. Don't kill people's lesson.
Yeah. Well, okay, sure. That's one of the lessons. I think the story's been lost on you, but that's okay. We'll move on. All
right.
Our last story today. Okay, let's see if you get the lesson in this story.
Okay.
I won't even put the lesson out.
Okay.
We'll just read the story. You ready?
Yep.
This is story interpretation day with Beer City Bruiser, I guess. I'll just read the headline and I tell you what, we'll do this. I'll read the headline and see what you make of it, and then we'll continue with the story. You ready?
Perfect. Yes, I like this game.
Okay. German sauna penis row ends in court for man who stabbed friend 11 times for mocking the size of his manhood. Go.
So, two guys joking around. One guy says, "Hey, you got a teeny weeny." The other guy says, "Hey, I'm going to stab you," and murders him.
And the moral of our story?
Don't make fun of small wieners.
I think you nailed it. I mean, not literally, but you know. A German man was given a suspended sentence after he stabbed his friend 11 times for mocking the size of his manhood in a row in the sauna.
Why is it a roll in the sauna?
A row, not roll. Nobody's rolling.
I think it's a roll. I'm like, what?
Row in the sauna. It's a British term. A court in Paderborn, Germany, heard last week how the unnamed 29-year-old accused stabbed his 37-year-old friend on April 3rd last year. The accused and his brother-in-law, who's 39, met in the house of the victim. The trio drank alcohol together, first mistake, and decided to go to the host sauna at 5 a.m. The court told the German newspaper Bildem Sonntag.
That's a German name if I've ever heard one.
Yes, it is. All involved were already significantly drunk. One of the men supposedly poured beer over the sauna stones.
Oh, don't do that. That'll ruin it.
Yeah. The not-so-common sauna infusion caused a fight between the host and his guest. Probably because, like you said, it'll ruin the stones, which ended with a heated fight about the length of their penises. Again, 2 and 2 do not equal 4. I don't know how, hey, you're ruining my stones equals, hey, your dick's kind of small. The third man separated the fighting pair and left with his brother-in-law around 7:15 a.m. for a house in the neighborhood. The 29-year-old, unable to calm his fury about the fight, returned 2 hours later, and after a mutual confrontation, the accused produced a knife and stabbed the victim 11 times.
So wait, okay, so they got in the argument, he made fun of his teeny weeny, he left,
right,
stewed on it for 2 hours, came back and then stabbed him.
You got it. He suffered serious injuries to his lungs and left arm and was taken to the hospital. The assailant was arrested and his blood alcohol levels were taken, which 2 hours after the stabbing were still, Bruiser, 2.9.
Oh, geez. How is he walking?
How do you lift a knife at that?
I don't know.
Germans are hardy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. The judge said these blood alcohol levels brought him close to criminal incapacity.
Oh, just regular incapacity.
The 29-year-old was charged with causing dangerous bodily harm and was given a suspended 2-year sentence after admitting guilt and paying 10,000 pounds in damages to the victim. Wow.
Yeah, this story had it all.
2.9.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been that drunk.
Now, considering 0.8 is the legal limit for driving.
0.08, isn't it?
I'm sorry, 0.08. Yeah, 0.08. How drunk have you been to the point where you can't move?
I've never taken my breathalyzer, or blood alcohol level, but it has never been over 2. Like, I don't even think it's ever been close to 1.
I would think at a 1, you'd be to the point where you're laying there and the room is spinning.
There's got to be a point where you're almost like legally dead. Like, this guy pickled himself.
Yeah. I can't imagine it. And I'm not saying a 0.29, folks. I'm reading it correctly. 2.9.
Yeah. That's, God, 5-6 times the legal limit. Right? I'm bad at math.
Yeah, 0. Well, no, it's over that, because 0.8. No, 0.08. That's 0.08. Well, again, we're trying to do live or math live on air, but
yeah, I got it here. So it's
but you're talking
0.08.
But 0.9 would be, if you're talking 0.08, 0.9 would be 10 times.
Yeah, this is 20 times.
It's more than that. It'd be 200 times. Because you've got to go 10 times would be 0.9.
Yeah, you're right.
100 times, yeah, well, I'm exaggerating here, but yeah,
You're really drunk.
you're really drunk. I mean, you're to
Yeah.
you should be at a point where you're dead.
How does he remember anything is what I want to know.
I don't know that he does.
No, I think when they arrested him and they said he did it, he probably just went, okay.
He probably just went, sure. Okay. Yeah, I did it. Wow. Wow. That's all I got to say. Wow.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's something. But yeah, that's it. That's it.
No, if only he didn't have a teeny weenie and a violent streak, he'd be the perfect guy.
Well, there's putting a positive spin on it, folks, and that's how we'll leave it today. He'd be the perfect guy. So that's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today. Tomorrow on the show, Supernatural News.
All right.
Yeah, that's on Darkness Radio for tomorrow. And on Thursday this week, we're talking the devil.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're getting into the devil this week. Dr. Richard Gallagher is with us, and we'll be studying demonic possession and other diabolical attacks. We're talking the book Demonic Foes.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, with Dr. Richard Gallagher. That's coming up on Thursday. So that's your week for Darkness Radio. We want to thank you so much for joining us today on True Crime Tuesday. Again, if you have, we want to remind you, Parashare for Supernatural News. If you have a Parashare story, and we have a brand new Parashare story for this week. If you have a Parashare story, it's not too late. Get it into us, tim@darknessradio.com. I want to remind you that you can do that. You can submit it by email or go to darknessradioshow.com, our website. There is a blue button on the side of the website. You just click that button. You can submit a voice note. It gives you up to 2 minutes to tell that story. If you go over that 2 minutes, hit that button again, submit another 2 minutes. I'll stitch it together. We'll play it live here on the air, and we can hear your story and your lovely little voice on air. We would appreciate it if you do that. Let's see, what else? Anything else, Bruiser?
Nothing. I got nothing on my end.
You got nothing on your end. Okay, we'll get into some more stuff tomorrow and some more reminders tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you so much, folks, for supporting us here on True Crime Tuesday and being an avid listener. I want to remind you one more thing, folks. I know it's fun to binge Darkness Radio. It's fun to binge True Crime Tuesday, to put them together and listen to them all at one time. Maybe you're saving it up for a couple of weeks. But I want to remind you something, that it's important to us and our advertisers that you listen to the show as soon as you get it. Mm-hmm. You may say, why is that, Tim? Well, it's important to us and our advertisers, and it's important for our downloads and our listens. It keeps us here on the air. It keeps us here on Audio Boom, and it keeps our advertisers advertising with us. And that's important to us and our living. So we're asking you a favor. We're asking you to listen more frequently, if you would. Okay? Don't try not to bunch them up in weeks and months and say, well, I'm saving up True Crime Tuesday in bunches. So, I'll keep a couple and then I'll listen to them every couple of weeks. Try not to do that for us if you do us that favor. Try to listen to us, maybe once or twice a week, or once or twice every couple of weeks. Don't go a month and then listen to us. Because it ends up hurting our advertising and our advertisers. If you would, try to listen to us every week on the week or once every 2 weeks so that we get credit with our advertisers. We'd appreciate that if you would.
Yes, please.
Please. If you do that, we would greatly appreciate it. That'll do it for Beer City Bruiser. I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for tuning in to True Crime Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow for Darkness Radio. You've been listening to the best in true crime podcasting. This has been True Crime Tuesday.